Hey, lovelies. I wanted to hop on and record what I hope will be a short video in anticipation of the start of my year-long group mastermind program, the Conscious Business Mastermind. So it starts next Tuesday, which is the 14th. And there's a couple of days left where I could potentially receive applications and get on calls with people. So the groups are pretty much formed. I have two groups, but there is a few spaces left for people to join if you've been sat on the fence and thinking about it. I realize there's a couple of things that I usually talk to people about inside the calls that I've been having with people, and I've been having lots of those calls that aren't on the sales page and just might be useful for you to see and hear about the kind of behind the scenes and what happens inside the CBM, because sometimes it's hard to imagine what a program is going to be like until, of course, you're in it. So there's a couple of things I wanted to share. So first of all, this will be the second year. Well, it's this, first of all, it's the sixth year that I've done the CBM. So I'm super excited about that. I remember when I first created it, way back when, it was an experiment like many things in business are. And it's been something that has just been so incredible to run. And I think impactful for the people that take part, that it's just grown and grown over the years. And so it's become a massive part of my daily and weekly business life. And for, similarly for the people who join, a lot of people will say that, being part of the mastermind is, and having that kind of regular touch point week on week for a whole year, and some people repeat and do multiple years, is what's kept them in the game, has kind of like kept them anchored to their business. And so CBM is definitely an anchor in my business for me. I love it, and I'm super excited to be starting with a new cohort next year. This year, sorry, not next year, next week. This year is the second year that we've got two groups. So as the number of applications increased, as kind of more and more people found out about the mastermind and wanted to take part. Something I'm deeply committed to is a small group size. It's one of the things I think that makes the mastermind so unique, in that it's, relatively low cost. I don't like to use terms usually like low cost or affordable, because of course that depends on where you're at, but lower cost maybe than other masterminds out there. For the group size. So currently we've got two groups, one that takes place at 11:30 a.m. Central European time. So that's in Spanish time, my time, which works well for people in Asia, Australia, Europe, and the UK. And then there's also a second call. This is on Tuesdays. All calls take place on Tuesdays. A second call that takes place at 5 p.m. my time, that's Central European time, which is 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. UK, which works well, of course, for North Americans and also, some Europeans and British people. So we've got, I think there's 12 people currently in group. I call it Group B, the afternoon, my afternoon, and 9 people committed to Group A. So there's still space. I won't go beyond 15. It's capped at 15 because, again, it feels really important to have that kind of small, intimate group size, because otherwise I just feel like it's not really a mastermind. It's just a group program that people feel lost in and can kind of disappear into. I know myself, having been in groups like that, when there's like 100 people in the group, or even 30, 40, 50 people, it's very easy to hide. And the whole point of a mastermind is that you can come out of the shadows and be supported and elevated in your business. So just wanted to re-mention the two call times, because it's a relatively new thing. We did it for the first time in 2024. So if you maybe, I know some people look at the CBM from the sidelines for years before they decide to join. Maybe you didn't know that we have now the new group morning my time, like I say. So it's I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. Then the other thing I wanted to share is, because it's all very well looking at a sales page, thinking, okay, this is a group program, group mastermind. We meet however often we meet. But what I wanted to do is just really take you behind the scenes a little bit and show you the call schedule. And I won't show you this year's because what I do is I leave space. The quarter one of the CBM for 2025 is set. But I usually leave it relatively open for the rest of the year because there's so many topics that I can teach on and talk about. I like to see who the group is and, get feedback from people as we go to see what would be most useful. So what I'm going to show you is what last year's schedule looked like. And so just bear with me and I'll share my screen. Um, okay, so here we go. So basically, what we do is there's 12 months. We start mid-January and mid-December. So there's 12 months, and I have a theme per month. Um, and then within each month, apart from January and December, which are slightly shorter months, we typically have four calls. On those months where there's a fifth week, I'll typically have an integration week. And also at some of the key times, like in August when I have my summer holiday. So there's a couple of months where there's what we call an integration week. But essentially, it's a call every week. And there are four key types of calls that we have. So we usually kick a month off with a teaching call on the theme for that month. So just to run through a couple of the themes that we did last year, for the first time actually ever in the CBM, January became the theme for January was foundations. And I really love that topic. I realized that I do a lot of things at the beginning of the year to really set myself up for success. And I wanted to share those with my clients. And so January, once again, in 2025 will be foundations. We'll really be looking at making sure we've got the solid foundations in place to have the best year possible. Other themes include things like authentic outreach, which has been huge in my business. It's a huge pillar of what I work with clients and group program participants, content marketing, obviously, things like core message, audience research. We also had topics, and those, things like content, business planning, foundations, outreach, audience research, also things like business model, business planning. They're core topics that will always be in the CBM. And then others as we go might be things like, love and launches, or last year we did SEO. And other things like that. So basically, there's a theme for every month. And then the four types. So like I said, we kick off with a teaching call. Then typically we'll have the week following a teaching call, a practical call. And the reason for that is I am so over just receiving advice and guidance for my business and then not implementing it and not having that space to implement. So there's guided practical sessions where we don't just co-work together. I actually give you set things to do to implement the teaching that we've got for that month. Following that, we'll typically have a Q&A. Now, the Q&A isn't specific to the theme. The Q&A is open. It's whatever you might be struggling with or needing feedback or support on in your business. You can bring it to a Q&A call. So it's very well organized. We have a spreadsheet that people can book slots. There's a limited number of slots. It's timed so that we don't have that situation where some people take up more space than others. It's, I keep it very structured for that reason. And then following that, we'll typically have one of a few different types of calls. Sometimes it will be a spotlight call. So it's similar to a Q&A, but instead of there being 5 slots available, it's just for 2 people. So this is where we go really deep on an individual within the mastermind. So typically everybody has access to at least one spotlight throughout the year, and some people do more than one spotlight, and that's because some people don't want to do the spotlight, and we also have more slots. We often have more slots available than people. So that's an opportunity for you to basically get half an hour of time just on you. So you can bring, often people will bring things like, I've reworked my business model and, oh, I'm thinking about reworking my business model. What do you think? This is what I'm thinking, and get feedback from me in the group. Or I've, worked really hard on a sales page for a new program that I'm creating. Will you read through it and give me feedback? And then there's time within that half an hour slot for people to read it, make notes on the document, and also, give spoken feedback. So they're the spotlight calls. Then the other types of calls we might have are co-working calls where we'll work on our plans. So one of the key foundations that I invite everybody um, to embrace in January is getting a business plan in place. And I have a very thorough teaching on that. And then throughout the year, at the end of each quarter, we review our plans and then we look at what we're going to do for quarter two. So I'm a big fan of not planning the entire year out, but having a kind of overarching plan, but then doing the kind of more detailed planning quarter by quarter. And we do that together. We also might have other types of calls where it's more like a group discussion, that kind of thing. But they are the five main types. So the teaching, the practical, the Q&A, the spotlight, and the co-working. And yeah, so I just wanted you to see that because sometimes it can feel quite abstract. We're going to do these, calls on these, like I think I talk about the four pillars on the sales page, but I wanted to give you like a real, behind the scenes look at what that actually means. Also, when somebody signs up for the Conscious Business Mastermind, they get access to a hub. And I wanted to just share, this is the hub for this year. I just wanted to share a little bit of what that looks like. So obvious things like call recordings, admin, and something that's really, I think, useful that most people don't realize they're going to get is the resources folder. I'm going to show you the one from 2024 because I haven't fully populated the 2025 one yet. But here there's like a solid set of folders with basically all of my best stuff on these areas. So for example, if we're looking planning, it gives you access to the business planning workshop that I teach and some further reading. If we go back and look at, say, marketing, it will give you things like, resources around repurposing, access to challenges I've run in the past, reading lists, access to my 3-part workshop series, a template for doing your content planning and all of that stuff. So there's tons of stuff in here that you get access to as soon as you paid basically and signed up for the year, you get access to. Also in the folder, one thing I do have in the 2025 folder and the resources so far is access details to all the past workshops that I have taught. And you get free access to workshops that I run in 2025. Not my short programs, but my workshops. So that's something also you get access to right away. What else did I mention? Just looking at my list. So I think that's it really. I just wanted you to be able to see a little bit of behind the scenes, what it looks like when you join, what you get access to, all of that good stuff. And just to let you know that, I don't typically accept people into the CBM after the deadline. And that's because the group or the two groups that I create are precious. I mean, the group dynamic is so important to me. It's why I don't allow anybody inside the mastermind unless I've had a, thorough conversation with them. And I feel like there's a fit. There have been people I've turned away because it just, it didn't feel right for them or it didn't feel right for the group. So it's really important to me. One of the biggest pieces of feedback I get on the mastermind year on year is that people just rave about the group element. I always say the best bit about the CBM is not the bit that I can take credit for, though I will take credit for pulling together, some pretty amazing people doing amazing things in the world. So for that reason, and because we start, early on Tuesday morning, I won't accept anybody in after Monday. And what I'm saying to people is, if you're interested, Get your application in. I'm going to share links below this video, but get your application in so that we can have a call either tomorrow, which is Friday the 10th, or Monday the 13th. Both of those days are pretty wide open. So if you're just not sure, if you're thinking, oh, I would love to, but I just don't know, just hop on a call. I do not apply pressure. Even when someone's like, I'm in, I will make them sleep on it. So, for me, it's really important to have a conversation that makes sense. There's zero pressure from me to sign up. The groups are pretty formed, and I'm happy with the number we've got already. This is just in case anybody out there is thinking, I want to do it, and I wanted to make sure you had this information. So yes, if I don't see you inside the CBM, hopefully I'll see you at some point this year. I'm endeavoring to do some new and exciting things this year to serve my audience. So, and if not, hopefully I'll see you inside the CBM. All right, take care.